to our live interview. I'm Terry Rakoff at Ippodaro Natural Salon, and my mission is to empower and inspire humanity by improving the quality of life. I've been a hairstylist for 14 years, and today I wanted to connect everyone with Sapna, who is a holistic health coach specializing in Ayurveda using food as medicine to prevent disease. Sapna, could you share with our audience how your purpose aligns with our mission to improve the well-being of our community and people?
Well, thank you, Terry, for having me. I believe that humanity cannot fulfill its purpose or its dharma, as we call it in Ayurveda, in a sick body.
Mhm.
I hate to see people suffering, and in order to raise the vibration of the planet, I feel we must start with the foundation first, which is food. So, food is meant to increase the Kundalini and the energy centers. So, if I ask you to meditate or do yoga or sit on the floor and you can't because you're so stiff and you have arthritis, how are you going to think higher thoughts? Right? You
Right.
cannot have higher thoughts by eating lower vibrational foods. And this is why I called my company Spiritual Nutrition.
I love that. It's a beautiful name
Thank
for
you.
your what you're doing.
Thank
Um,
you.
all right, so we're going to dive into some questions to help some of our audience that are, on this path of well-being and wanting to improve their health. My first question is, how does diet impact the risk of developing cancer? Are there specific foods or nutrients that are particularly beneficial for cancer prevention?
Yes. So, diet plays a huge role in cancer prevention. What you choose to put into your mouth can either increase or prevent disease. So, there's so many foods that prevent cancer. We'll start with berries. Berries like strawberries and blackberries and blueberries and raspberries, they are rich in antioxidants and they inhibit cancer cell growth and they reduce inflammation. Another one would be like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, and cabbage. They contain sulfur compounds that actually help with phase two of detoxification and have anti cancer properties.
Wow.
Another one would be garlic and onions. Garlic and onions also have that sulfur compound, and that's been associated with reduced risk of many types of cancers, including stomach and colorectal cancers.
Yep.
And I think the most important one is leafy greens, spinach, kale, chard, arugula. They're packed with vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and fiber, which help protect against cancer. And most importantly, these are alkaline foods. So disease cannot live in an alkaline body.
Right.
Everything from the common cold to cancer. And this is how I think that I rarely get sick because I eat a lot of greens.
Yep.
So very, very important. And
I
then
agree.
tomatoes.
I'm getting
Yeah.
hungry as you're listing all these foods. Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah. And then tomatoes also. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene.
Hmm.
That's also been linked to prevention of cancer.
Oh, wow.
And then also green tea. Green
Yep.
tea contains polyphenols, which have antioxidant properties that also help prevent cancer. And bonus tip is it also boosts collagen levels. And
Way.
yeah,
Great
so it's really great
skin.
for the skin. Yeah. And
Yep.
I know
And
the Japanese people drink like 3 cups of green tea a day.
yeah.
And when I was training as a nurse practitioner, I think this was maybe, oh gosh, 25 years ago, 24 years ago, I was in a dermatology rotation and I had a patient and on her chart, it said she was in her 50s. Okay. And there was only one person in the waiting room. And I went out to look for her and this girl looked like she was in her 20s. And I thought, well, where is this patient? I'm ready to take her in and there's no one in here. And finally I just said, is Sally here or whatever her name was?
Yep.
And and she's like, oh, that's me. And I'm like, oh, but this says that you're in your 50s. Are you the same person? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's me. And I was thinking, wow, this lady looks like she's in her 20s. And so I
Wow.
called her in and I go, okay, you have to tell me what you do. And she goes, I get that all the time. And I said, I get that too. And she goes, you look really young for your age as well.
Hmm.
And I will never forget because we both said this in sync. We both said, well, the only thing I do, and she said, the only thing I do, and we both said, is I drink green tea.
I love that.
And I was like, wow, and
It's
I
proof in the
only drink
pudding.
it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I only drink it because I thought it was good for you and it's healthy and prevents cancer, right? But I didn't
Yep.
know that it had these anti-aging effects. I still drink it. I'm drinking it right now.
Amazing.
So
I had
yeah,
some this morning, so it's
good for
great.
you.
Yep. For
Yeah,
for youthful skin.
yeah, it was
Absolutely.
amazing. And then also turmeric.
Yeah.
Turmeric contains curcumin, which
Yep.
is a potent anti-inflammatory and has antioxidant properties,
Okay.
and that slows down cancer. And then beans, legumes, chickpeas, they're rich in fiber,
Yep.
and the protein is also it's plant-based protein, which also has anti-cancer properties.
Wow. So you live this life to the T of what you're preaching, and it shows. I see you all the time. I've known Sapna for a few years now, and it's been really cool. And I know that your husband was also a functional doctor as well.
Correct.
And so you have been in that background with along with him, and you've seen through your journey of sick people and having them kind of turn around when they follow the steps to your program, correct?
Correct.
Can you share a story of someone that you have come in contact with and that they felt, they followed it to the T, and you can proudly say, hey, they're doing really great now. Do you have a story like that?
Oh my gosh, I have so many, but I will
Yeah.
tell you one particular one. I had a patient, this is when I was in California, and she was actually in Austin at the time. She had, I believe it was either cervical cancer
Yep.
or uterine cancer. She, it was stage 4, and she was going for a procedure called LEAP or
Yeah.
some sort of procedure for that. And she called me, and I said, "You have to do exactly what I tell you to do."
Yeah.
Okay, because when I go, you have to listen because I'm not a physician, but I'm obligated to say you have to follow your physician's advice. But she's like,
Absolutely.
I don't want to take chemo and I don't want to get surgery. And I said, okay, if you don't want to do that, that's up to you, but you have to do exactly to a T what I do. So
Yeah.
I literally changed. Her diet was full of processed food,
Yep.
eating too much food, processed food. And so I literally told her, you can't eat like this. You have to have plant based foods, greens, lots of alkalinity, lots of raw food.
Yep.
And I just told her how to do everything step by step like this. And I think 6 weeks later, I didn't hear from her. So I was like, oh my God, I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
6 weeks later,
Lifestyle change,
it was total lifestyle
big
change.
lifestyle change. Yep.
And she's someone who doesn't cook. And she had a child on the spectrum as well. And she just didn't have time to cook.
Yeah.
But I'm like, your kitchen is your pharmacy. So if
Yep.
you don't get in there and use it, you're going to show, your health is going to show. And she called me 6 weeks later. I will never forget because I was driving to an appointment and I had to pull over on the side of the road because she told me she has zero cancer. And the doctor, the levels went down so low. He's like, well, we don't really need to do surgery on you. We don't see anything anymore. And the funny thing, she's like, oh, I was started working with a health coach. And the doctor's like, well, whatever you did, that's fine. He didn't even want to know, which
Yeah.
is so weird. Like, as a practitioner, I'd want to know, well, what did you do?
Right. That would
But the
be
doctors
the
just
best
don't
thing to
care.
ask. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. And
Yep.
so I had to pull over because we both started crying. And so that
Wow.
was just like a really, I'll never forget. It's people like that that makes me know that what I'm doing is worth it.
That's amazing. So she's cancer free, and that's
Cancer
really that's
free.
an amazing
And the
story.
funny thing was she did not even cook. And so what she
Wow. So
did
how
is
did
she
she do
actually
it?
went to this very healthy restaurant in Austin
Uh-huh.
that's basically like ashram food, like a temple. Like they don't put salt in their food. It's very basic,
Yep.
but it's really healthy. And she told me that she went there every day and ate
You
because
know,
she didn't have the time to cook from scratch
yep.
because she had a child on the spectrum. So she went and found this place that cooks the way I told her,
Yep.
and but
Wow.
she reversed it. So it
That's
can be
incredible.
done.
So it's, I mean, if you really want to change your lifestyle, you have the power to change it.
Totally.
Guidance. Yep.
Totally.
Are there any foods or food groups that can negatively affect hair health and should be limited or avoided?
Yes.
Mhm.
So number one food is sugar. Sugar and sugary drinks, they lead to massive inflammation in the body, which affects the hair follicles and it leads to hair loss and thinning. And then number two, I would say processed foods and fast foods. They're high in unhealthy fats and refined carbohydrates and artificial additives, which disrupts the hormonal imbalance and contributes to poor hair health, like alopecia.
Yep.
Like you'll see male pattern balding in women, and I know when I see that, I'm like, okay, this lady eats wheat
Yeah.
because wheat causes that hair loss.
Oh,
And there's a funny story with that. Many, many years ago, I used to have really, really thick hair. Not as much anymore, but really, really thick hair. And I would start shedding a lot of hair.
hmm,
And my hairdresser, this is about 12 years ago, she's like, your hair is falling out a lot. I'm like, aren't you supposed to lose like 100 hairs a day? And she's like, yours is beyond that.
yeah.
And coming from her, I was like, okay, so she sees hair all day.
Yeah.
So I basically stopped eating wheat. I had found out that wheat causes a lot of problems, and I stopped eating wheat, and my hair stopped falling out.
Yep.
So it was pretty
Wow. It
amazing.
caused that. I think a lot
Mhm.
of the baldness too, would you say that is connected with the thyroid,
Yes,
which if somebody is not okay with the wheat, that it will impact their thyroid
yes,
um negatively, along with menopause, if they're going through menopause, things like
yes.
that. And I think diet and sugar is super important. I mean, so what is the good amount of sugar that one person should have per day?
Zero.
Zero. Okay, so no
Zero.
fruits, no
No, natural sugars as much as you
natural
want.
sugars. Okay, okay,
Sugar, refined sugar, no.
okay.
Um, Tons, you can eat as many fruits as you want,
Awesome.
dates, sugar, honey, maple syrup,
Yeah.
coconut sugar. These are all natural sugars. I'm not telling people to not eat something sweet. I'm
Okay.
just saying take out the refined sugars. There's no amount of refined sugars that should be in your diet.
Yep.
Like for me, like I have a weakness for chocolate. Okay. So sometimes what I'll do is I will take a raw cacao powder, which
Uh-huh.
is loaded with B vitamins and minerals and magnesium. And I'll take a little bit of maple syrup and I'll stir it in there and I'll make a paste.
Yep.
And I will just make a little chocolate paste and I will just eat that.
Wow.
And it's like, and I'm getting all those minerals, I'm getting all that good stuff from the raw cacao,
Mhm.
no sugar added. It's just maple syrup.
So
So
yeah, that sounds really yummy actually.
it is yummy. I
Yep.
love that. So
So let's say somebody like is transitioning to the no sugar, the refined sugar. How long would a person, how long would it take till their palate, I guess the taste, for them to, for that craving for that sugar to go away, would you say? If they're
you know,
used to, I guess per person it might be different, but
yeah, each person would be different, but I will tell you the cleaner you eat, the easier it's going to be. If you're so used to eating junk food,
yep.
it's going to take you a long time because that's a chemical. Sugar is a drug. It lights up on the same side of the brain as opiates do.
Okay.
And so it is a pure drug. It's an addiction. So let
Yep.
me give you an example. So I when my kids were younger, they would notice all their friends eating all this candy, right? And
Yep.
their mom doesn't give it to them. So what I would do is I'd give them those surf sweet gummies. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're like natural gummies that are, they don't have artificial colors and flavors in them. They're like turmeric cut, for
Yeah.
the orange, and cherry for real cherries for the red color. And so these didn't have nearly as much as sugar and preservatives as a regular gummy bear would.
Yeah.
So my kids had gone over to their grandparents' house, and my youngest one gave some gummies to their grandpa. And
Hmm.
my daughter comes back, she's like, Mom, grandpa didn't like these gummies. He liked the Haribo gummies, right? The ones from the store. And I'm like, really? She goes, they're so good. I don't know why he just didn't like them. He said they just weren't sweet enough. And so if you're used to eating sugar you're going to get addicted to it. It's going
Oh,
to be hard for you to
absolutely.
taste a natural candy or a natural thing. So, it just depends on the person. And I think, honestly, Terry, it has to deal with your mindset.
Yeah.
And your mindset is like, I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't
Yeah.
want to be overweight. I don't want to be sick. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything in my possible, you know,
Way to,
way to like,
yeah.
I'm not, you just got to, it's all mindset. You just got to say, I
It's
don't
a
want it anymore.
choice. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a choice that you make within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, Terry, I think alcohol
Yeah.
dehydrates the body and
Oh,
it
yeah.
leads to dry and brittle hair.
Yes, it does.
And alcohol inhibits the absorption of vitamins for hair health like A, C, E, and B. And
Yep.
you need those for hair.
Yep.
And then a lot of people are also addicted to caffeine.
Yep.
And caffeine leads to dehydration and it interferes with the absorption of minerals of iron and zinc, which you need those for healthy hair growth.
Yep. I think it's also, I was big into coffee drinking. Yeah, I still am, but for some reason this past month, and my body does this like once in a while where I think I become so dehydrated and I don't want that coffee. And I think it's recognizing when your body gives you that cue. And that's why I
Yes.
started veering back to tea and I feel so much better. It's like you're don't ignore those signs that your body's giving to you. It's like I had that cup of tea and I was like, oh, this is amazing, you know? So this feels really, really good.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
most people don't know how to listen. That's the main problem. They just don't know how to listen to their body.
Yeah.
And so
And I
people
think
always
it's
go, well, how do
key.
you know that? I'm like, I
Yeah.
just listen.
Yeah. Listen,
And
because
then
it's,
another thing I would also say that's really bad for hair health is like hydrogenated oils and trans fats.
yep.
They're found in fried foods, baked goods, margarine. They're totally associated with massive inflammation in the body and
Yep.
insulin resistance, which can negatively impact your hair
Absolutely.
well. And
I,
also, like a lot of people go on those crash diets.
yeah. Yeah.
They do those
The,
extreme caloric restriction. And if you keep depriving the body of essential nutrients because you want to lose weight, that's going to lead to your hair falling out.
absolutely. It sure
Yeah.
will. All right. So, Sapna, what dietary advice do you have for cancer survivors to help reduce the risk of reoccurrence and promote overall health?
Well, the biggest thing I would say is emphasize plant-based foods,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Okay.
Fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Again, these foods are very rich in vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that support the immune system and they reduce inflammation. And I would go as so far as to say is to maybe do a raw food diet because if you Google Dr. Max Gerson,
Yep.
I would absolutely learn the teachings of him because I think he was a doctor that pioneered in the early 1900s,
Okay.
and he basically reversed cancer by giving his patients a carrot juice. So it's pretty amazing. That's why I'm a big stickler for juicing because
Yep.
it can reduce a lot of diseases.
Yep.
And then also, I would also emphasize plant-based proteins such as beans and lentils and tempeh because it's essential for repairing tissues and maintaining muscle mass if you're going through cancer.
Yep.
And then the other thing I would say would be don't no meats because meat is extremely acidic and it's linked to an increased risk of certain cancers like colorectal cancer. So you
Okay.
want to keep your body as clean as possible and choose healthy fats like avocados and nuts and seeds and olives and coconuts because they give us those really good anti-inflammatory properties.
Yep.
And one of the other most important things I would say is to stay hydrated, drink plenty of water to flush out the toxins because these support all the bodily functions. And I see this all the time. People who don't drink water get a lot of diseases.
Yep.
When I was a nurse many years ago in New York and in Mount Sinai, actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the neurology and the neurosurgery unit, and I had this patient who had cancer that had spread through his whole body. And he was in his 50s and he looked like he was in his 80s. His whole body was gray. He looked as gray as the outdoor weather in New York City.
Yep.
And I remember this because it was like maybe like a Monday. I gave him his medication in a
Yep.
glass of water. And I remember the glass because it was his glass from home. It had a certain logo on it. And I gave him this medication and I skipped the next day because I was off and I came back on like a Wednesday and that same glass was sitting there on the right side of his bed, um, filled the same amount that I had left it with. And I
Wow.
thought, well, what's the probability of another nurse having it being emptied at the same level? So I go, is that the same glass that I gave you the medication on Monday? And he's like, oh yeah. I go, so did you drink any water in the last 2 days? And he said,
Mm,
no, I only drink it just to take the medicine down. And I'm like, well, what do you drink? And he's like, oh, I just drink soft drinks, soda, coffee. And
oh,
I was horrified because
yeah.
this is way before I got into holistic medicine because I was an allopathic nurse. And even then I was like, oh, gross.
Yeah.
Like, and this
That's,
is how you get sick. You don't flush your kidneys out. You just pour like black soot in it every day.
that's why
What do
you
you
get
think is going
kidney
to happen?
stones and those types of things where your body's freaking out. It's, hey, what are you doing to me? I need the nutrients. So it's going to fight back because you're not feeding it right.
Exactly.
Right. As far as like for meat purposes, I'm going to kind of touch back on the meat part. What if somebody they need the meat? Is there a better I mean, what should they stick with if they're like, hey, I don't want to give up the meat, but what is your suggestion on if they were to have, I mean, they to get that, what would you suggest the best route if they needed that meat?
Well, when you say they need it, what do you mean by
Or let's
they?
say they want the meat. I guess what I mean by is let's say somebody comes to you and they say, I can't give up meat. It's just I can you help guide that person if they say I can't give up meat and you
I
said,
can help guide that person, absolutely. But
yeah,
I will tell you,
yeah,
if you truly want to reverse your cancer, you're going to have to, because the whole key, this is what they don't teach you. The whole key, and I've been doing this for 25 years. It's taken
yeah,
me, I started off as a vegetarian, then I went paleo, and then I went, back to my raw food vegan ways because I saw the difference. And my carnivore paleo patients are the sickest because they're
yeah,
not getting enough fruits and vegetables.
yep,
And if you truly want to prevent disease, you have to eat alkaline.
okay,
So what is an alkaline food? It's the greens, it's the fruits and the vegetables. What's an acidic food? Meat, dairy, sugar, coffee, alcohol. That's
yep,
all acidic. All those foods promote disease. So if
yeah,
they still want to eat meat, you know, I can't guarantee you that you're going to prevent cancer
that's
because,
interesting.
and
Yeah,
even, yeah, because if you follow, there's a guy named Chris Wark online, his name, and he has a whole website called Chris Beat Cancer.
yeah,
And he talks about how he went through all of this and he talks about plant-based and all of the, Chris Carr, all of them
they
basically reverse
are.
their cancer by plant-based raw foods.
That's
So
amazing.
like for the person who sees that he needs meat, nobody needs meat. You get plenty of protein other ways. So this person is just addicted to meat and they can't give
Right.
it up. But so that's the thing where you have to change your mindset again.
Interesting.
You have to
Okay.
say, hey, do I want to live
Yep.
or do I want to die? You know?
I love
So
that. That
I don't
is
know if that
it.
was the answer you were looking
No,
for, but
you know why I asked it because I get approached that, I've heard that for people. They said, well, I can't do that. It's, they're a cancer survivor and they kind of revert back to what they used to before they got the cancer. And so, I just bring that question up because it's what I hear, they say, oh, I can't give that up. I'm one of those that, I love meat, but I try to keep it as clean as possible. But I wanted to hear your perspective on that. So thank you for all this beautiful information and helpful information to all of our audience. And is there anything that you'd like to share with the rest of us? And also, how can people get connected to you and what you are doing?
yes, well, basically, in summarization, I just want to say that processed food is junk food. And most of us think of junk food as soft drinks, candy, snacks, and fast food and TV dinners. But in reality, Terry, junk food is almost any food that's been altered by man and packaged for resale. So
Yeah.
if man made it, don't eat it. So
Yes.
I always tell my patients, I'm like, even my kids, I'm like, if it was made if it comes from a plant, eat it.
Yep.
But if it was made in a plant, don't. So yeah, the food industry is a $1 billion industry and it's very competitive. Major food producers are constantly looking at ways to lower costs, increase profits, lengthen the shelf life of your products, right?
Yep.
But the longer the shelf life, the shorter your life. So,
Yeah.
I would just say in summary, just eat more raw food, fruits and vegetables, go plant-based. If you really want to prevent disease, that's really the way to life.
Yep.
Because raw food is living food.
Yes.
Okay, when you cook your food, it's dead. There's no life in it anymore. And raw food is perfectly designed to fuel a living body. This is
Yeah.
actually the food that's designed by God for us to eat, his creation, right?
Yep.
They've taken pictures, it's called Kirlian photography, where they'll take a picture of like a banana or an apple,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll see all these like energetic lines just popping out of them, but they'll take a picture of meat and there's nothing. It's like it's there to see the energy and there's no energetic lines.
Wow.
So I always tell my patients, Terry, if you want energy, if you want vitality, you want life, then don't eat death.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have life by eating death.
Yeah, that goes for hair products too. If they have a longer shelf life, that there's a
Mhm.
reason. It's very similar into that concept too, shorter life. I'm not saying that compared to food, but
Right.
I think that speaks a lot of truth for a lot of things that are around us. So, and you said you had a 18-month type of program and
Well, yeah, I have a program called Remove, Reset, Restore, where I teach you how to remove the toxins and restore the body and reset the body to awaken to your true self. And
yeah.
it's 18 weeks, not 18 months. I don't think people would have the patience for 18 months, but it's an 18-week course. It's basically my life's work of what I've seen in the last 20 years of the top 8 foods that cause 90% of all diseases, and also how to live your life um, in accordance with the lifestyle that prevents disease. And so it's amazing. It's like I have cheat sheets in there. There's like food plans. There's a 1 month meal plan in there that teaches you how to eat. There's all kinds of shopping lists and supplements, and it's
Wow.
amazing. And you can get that on my website under my name, sapnafliedner.com. Under services, it's there.
And I'll add that also into the comments below. So you can get all the information on her and please give her a follow. She's a beautiful lady. And so thank you, Sapna, today for taking the time to speak to all of us. And we will take that knowledge and hope that you too will follow those footsteps of a natural, more holistic life. So thank you to the community. Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. All right. We'll see y'all later.